Hey, it's Drybear. The time has finally come. We're on to sniper rifles in our quest to touch every single weapon in the First Descendant, and these things are actually very, very good. In fact, I would call them probably more of a point of balance for the rest of the game. Now, what I made me of that, this is the full build. I'll have this linked down below in the comments and description if you want to use this. Unfortunately, all of the blue and purple sniper rifles have essentially the same weighting. In some cases, like for different Dream, you may want to run concentration priority because their reload isn't as heavy, and in other cases, you might run commando marksmanship, and in some cases like recipient unknown, you might run reload insight or reload focus because they have a little bit longer reload, but in general the weighting is all the same. But what I love about the sniper rifles, as you can see, is they have insanely high single target damage. They actually, different Dream so far has been the highest single target damage of any weapon that we've tested so far in the entire game. The downside is that getting high power rounds is very hard, and I feel like most, if not all, high power weapons should kind of be where the sniper rifles are right now. On top of that, you'll notice on the far left side, outside of the unethical mods like action and reaction and real life fighter, which I'm not even going to recommend using in this build, everything from elemental enhancement down is very close in mod weighting, and the sniper rifles are the first weapon type that I've tested so far where when you get down to even the 10th mod, it's still kind of hard to choose which mod you pick, which has not been the case for most weapons in the game. Most weapons, especially the primary weapons like general rounds weapons, you can get most of your value from the first 5 mods, and then after that, it's kind of like the weighting goes way down, and most general weapons have the same exact first 5 mods, except for cases where you can run sharp precision shot or mental focus for a great effect. But in general, everyone runs action and reaction, rifling reinforcement. Everyone runs fire rate up, unless there's a specific niche case like launchers or something like that. Everyone runs the elemental enhancement versus weakness mods, and then you run some kind of crit and some kind of weak point if you scale with it. But sniper rifles, it all feels really tight. These mods are pretty close together, and you can pick and choose between these. The one big part, so like down below underneath my head for the sniper rifles, is going to be the optimal DPS. These 10 mods fully maxed out and catalyzed for different Dream is going to be probably the highest single target in the game outside of Descendant combinations. We're not talking about Glay, we're not talking about Enzo, we're not talking about, you know, runaway situations where you can combine things together, just the weapons themselves. The problem with this is you really have a very low economy when it comes to high power rounds as ammunition. So you kind of have to make a hard choice here of, do you run this for optimal damage and then you occasionally bring out your sniper rifle for burst damage, or do you sacrifice things like focus fire and or concentration priority to get maximum rounds increase with rounds compulsive and with rounds conversion from your fourth unused ammo type into high power rounds, so that you could be using these weapons more often. So you'll use them more, but they'll have less damage because you took off 2 of their good damage dealers. You see the weighting here. I mean, if we were to cut off the 2 unethical mods, action and reaction and real life fighter, the weightings here would be so good and so close together. I actually love where sniper rifles are right now. And that's kind of most of what you're going to be running into with these weapons, is you're going to run into the problem where you just don't have enough ammo in order to keep them up, and you'll end up having to switch off to your other weapons quite often unless you run those conversion mods, right? So if we take these off and we run the rounds conversion and max rounds, so if we get high power compulsive here, and then we do probably like special or impact to high power rounds, this gives us a nice steady flow of max rounds so we can convert more into high power, and then getting your unused ammo type, whichever it is, into high power to keep that ammo rolling, and just sacrificing these last 2 slots for DPS. So that's something you're really going to have to think about with these, because it makes a big difference for it. But what's great about sniper rifles is every single slot matters, every single slot has value, every single slot has good, and the top mod isn't even an ultimate mod. Real life fighter is still useful on these. You can stack real life fighter with these, but in this case, I'm not going to recommend it because there are so many other options that are pretty good and not as playstyle defining. I know real life fighter is kind of like a hot topic for a lot of people because real life fighter demands you to play a very specific way and demands you to be accurate in the way that you play. The way it works is you shoot targets, hit them in the weak point, and build up that damage by hitting them in the weak point repeatedly. Anytime you miss the weak point, you lose stack. So it has the highest upward potential of any mod in the game for the weapons that can potentially use it. However, it also has one of the biggest downsides, and it constantly changes your stat weighting and changes your playstyle, which not everyone is going to like. So again, if you want to use real life fighter, you can, and you're gonna have to try and keep up pace because the fire rate on a lot of these sniper rifles is much slower. You're gonna be running against that timer on the buff count for keeping up real life fighter. It is still gonna be the biggest addition to your character, the biggest addition to adding in all of the value for the weapon, but it's super build defining and kind of forces you to play in a specific way, whereas you have a lot of other conditional ones that are going to be really good. In fact, what's great about snipers is a lot of these conditionals outside of lethal finish, which isn't very good, you end up having really good like equivalent value. So strengthen first shot, special sight, dopaminergic activate, weak point expansion, all of these mods have about the same weighting, with I would say special sight kind of coming ahead slightly from the others. But remember that a lot of these outside of special sight, like a lot of these conditional mods end up staying active for like the one single hit and then they go on cooldown. So they lose value if you plan to use all of the rounds in your sniper rifle before you switch off of it. The longer, for every second you stay on the sniper rifle, you know, weak point expansion, strengthen first shot, dopaminergic activate, they all lose value because they have extreme downtime. It's that one shot you deal extra on, and then you don't have any value on that mod until that cooldown finishes, then you have that one shot again. So if you're going to run these conditional, you know, like internal cooldown focused mods, then you would want to, you know, switch over to your sniper rifle, shoot a couple times, switch back over to your normal weapon, and do that repeatedly while the cooldown is running to get good value out of it. But if you switch your sniper rifle and you keep it out for a long period of time, a lot of those conditionals end up losing their value, whereas something like special sight, anytime you're scoped in, you get weak point damage. It's pretty good overall. It gives you a nice big, you know, bonus in damage, and it's very reliable. But again, if you wanted to play more of the quick swap playstyle, you could use strengthen first shot is probably your best, although it is kind of odd for sniper rifles because it comes after reloads. You'd have to switch to sniper rifle, shoot, reload, and then shoot again. So that's why it's a little bit better than these, because you have a little bit more value, but it's also kind of awkward to access. So of the conditional ones, I think weak point expansion is going to be your best choice. So I'd probably, for these, if you want to play a sniper rifle normally without some weird real life fighter play style or without some requirement to reload on strength and first shot, I would recommend running special sight for normal uptime, or if you're going to do quick swap, run weak point expansion for the sniper rifles. And then you're just going to run action and reaction, rifling reinforcement, elemental enhancement versus weakness, fire rate up is all you need. Then better concentration and better insight. We only need one crit chance mod here, along with focus fire and obviously getting crit damage here with concentration priority. Then we want weak point with weak point sight, focus fire, concentration priority. And in the case of like Supermoon and Belief, you probably want to run commando marksmanship here instead of concentration. Any weapon that has too long of a reload, concentration becomes more of a problem on the high power rounds. But then, you know, for the case of Different Dream, which has the highest overall output of all the non-ultimate sniper rifles, concentration priority is going to give you more value there. Then for the reroll priority above my head, bonus first attack is really, really high on these. The reroll value on high power rounds is crazy high. So the value you get for maxing out the bonus versus Colossi, bonus versus the 3 different factions, it's a massive increase in firearm attack. And especially if you're going to be running this against like Colossi, which is the most realistic, you'll get a big damage increase from that. Next best is firearm attack, then flat elemental damage, and then crit damage. Those would be your best 4 rolls, and you'll have to think about how you want to align your bonus versus attack. Obviously, if you're going against elites or commandos, you'd have to pick one of the 3 factions, and I think that's just going to like lose value if you pick the wrong one. But bonus versus Colossi, firearm attack, flat elemental damage, and crit damage are going to be your best 4. And then you also get some value out of crit chance and weak point, and very minimal out of rounds for these kinds of weapons. Now, when it comes to feel good for the weapon, I think you're going to be putting more of your effort in the modules around getting ammo into the weapon and keeping that ammo flowing, just because high power is so inaccessible. You don't have the option to run accuracy on sniper rifles, and you don't really need to either. If you didn't know, they have this kind of like scope in. A lot of these rifles have this kind of scope in effect where you see that kind of concentric circle coming down into your reticle. That's just accuracy. It's not like TF2 Sniper or Widowmaker from Overwatch where it charges up damage. You have full damage regardless. It's just a little bit more accuracy for that time, and that is fixed. You can't really mess with it in too many ways unless you have other like niche like corner case effects that can scale off that. You can change recoil, but because these are mostly bolt action, you don't really need to change recoil at all. And so like I said, if you wanted to run vibration absorption or some kind of recoil on these, you could. I don't see the need to. I would say that you want to get either max damage for the sniper rifle, or you want to focus on adding in more high power rounds with, like we said, the max round compulsive and the conversion of unused ammo into high power rounds, so you can keep using the sniper rifle as much as you can. But that's what I got on these weapons. They're actually surprisingly good, and it's kind of refreshing to see the module balance they have relative to some of the other guns in the game that have like this very big disparity of balance between the mods that you can pick. And yeah, I'm excited to try out the ultimate one, so let me know what we should cover in the next one down below. If you found value in today's video, leave a like down below, leave a comment for the algorithm to help this video get seen by more people, and don't forget to check out my other channels for other content and other stuff and other things.